So welcome to the Anthology of Enlightenment, the summer edition, week 32, as you can see, week 32, just to organize it, I guess, to put it into sequence. Also not necessary at all. But anyway, I'm really happy that you're here. And I'm following instructions. That's why it looks like this. That's why I do the things that I do. Like it's just following instruction. I'm not concerned with any kind of outcome. So that's the same with the things I post and that I share. And that's a beautiful freedom that I only have to trust. Like it's working out perfectly. Total trust in that. Like I literally have no option but to completely trust what's going on. And that's a recognition. And if you come to that recognition, it's great because you don't have to make any decisions. It's literally in fact, telling itself what it is and what it should look like and what to do and where to go and what to say. So that's like, wow, that's so great, so easy, so beautiful, so effortless. It really is. So today, the Urantia. Now the Urantia, you might have heard of it or never heard of it. It is a book that you might not start reading right away in your spiritual development, but so what happened to me after, say, year 4, after my spontaneous awakening experience, I met a teacher called Master Teacher, and I was in Germany in a miracle center there. And I called Master Teacher and we had a little chat. And he said, well, you go down to the library here where you are and get the book Urantia and take it with you wherever you go. Don't ever lose it again. So I did. I took it out of the library and I took it with me. I took it everywhere. And so that was lovely. But the first chapters that I read was completely like no idea. But something started to happen. And that was like an expansion of consciousness that I hadn't experienced before. Because this was about universe, about universes beyond universes, beyond universes, beyond universes, beyond, and so on. And the center of the universe, the Isle of Paradise, and this and that, and the sequences. And then I discovered too, there's a whole section, like a huge section, I think 800 pages, about the life of Jesus Christ of Nazareth. And I'd like, wow, I can't believe it. That was the last thing I expected here to be in this book. And so I started reading in it, and when you start reading a book and you have recognitions with what it is saying, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's true, but you certainly have a recognition with it that puts something into place that you didn't see before, that wasn't like that clear before. Now it's put into every detail about things that you actually knew already, but never read anywhere. So this is a bit what happens to me when I read the Urantia. Now, one of the main, and this has had a huge impact, it was years later when I picked up the book again, 2009 or 10 or something like this. I started to read in paper 44, which is the Celestial Artisans. And something happened there because I read about music. I read about the musicians of heaven, Havona, of heaven, of Urantia. So it's like you read suddenly something that makes so much sense. Now I love to listen to a violin, but when I read the Urantia about the Celestial Artisans, I could not listen to any kind of mechanical made music. Listening to a violin sounded like a saw over glass or metal, rasping over metal. I was so sensitive to mechanic sound that sounded terrible to me. I could not listen to it. So I didn't make any music or played any music. I was in silence most of the time, whenever that I could do that. And so for 2 years, I underwent something, and suddenly something opened up too. Now this is related to an, say, very early experience that I had as a kid. I grew up in a family, like a little anecdote here. I grew up in a family. Oh, that's great. Yes. So my dad was an organ player. He played in the church always, like every Sunday, of course, and he played a lot at home because it was his joy and his happiness. But something happened. He played Bach, for instance, Handel, Vivaldi, and you name it. But something happened. He got into a coma, and when he was in that coma, he was gone. But I actually, we were on holidays. I was actually sitting pretty close to him, and it was like, what happened was that I was actually experiencing light in such a way that I could sit on a chair close to this place where he was laying down, and it was like there was so much light that I didn't want to move from that place. So I had no idea what was going on, but it was not scary at all, even though his body was laying down there. Now this was quite something. So when he came back, and he told me this a little bit later, but it's like when he got back, so to speak, he experienced say, near death or life experience, better say a near life experience. He said, well, I love music, I love Bach, and I think Bach's music is like heavenly, but what I've heard now is of a whole different order. It's like there's no way that any of the mechanical music can even come close to that. Now, you see that had an impact on my, say, scope of music, and that remembrance of, not that I heard that music at that point, but I could almost taste what he was talking about. It made total sense. Now, this recognition occurred to me when I was reading about the celestial artisans, about the heavenly musicians, seeing that there's melody that is not mechanical sound, that is not, say, it's combined with spiritual thought, the frequency of spiritual thought, the movement and energy of the passion of creation, like that put all together in a way that completely takes you out, you could say. Like when the heavenly musicians are playing, like that has a huge impact to all the universe, like everyone wants to be part of that. And well, that something is there, and that's why I read this paper 44, at least a part of it, in the podcast, because that puts you in the, say, in a fundamental idea of that there's music, sure. There's also music beyond the mechanical music. There's frequency, there's movement, there's color, there's spiritual thought, there's the passion of creation that binds it all together in a configuration that you recognize, and it's there, but you're not sure if you ever heard it. So that's the inspiration that put me into, for instance, electronic music, to develop music that is not based on mechanical noises, but on pure electronic, at least a step closer, purely magnetic, purely electronic, purely like as light as light. At least in an attempt to come to the edge of, we can still hear it with our ears, but there's something there that is different. Anyway, so that's my little introduction into the Urantia. That was just one part, but you can see it's like one paper made a huge impact on my whole musical development, as I recognize that for myself. And so it is with in fact, with the resurrection. You might have listened to that, the resurrection. I made a podcast with that too. And the resurrection tells you exactly about the sequences, like the body in the tomb. What happened to the body? What happened to the, say, resurrection, to the new body that suddenly was there? Is there an actual body that resurrected, or did something else happen? Now here there's something to clarify. I might come back to it, but you can hear it, you can listen to it in the podcast that I was sharing about the resurrection of Jesus of Nazareth. So that's another part of the invitation. Now today I'm looking at spirit, the bestowal of the Spirit of Truth, and that has everything to do with Pentecost. Pentecost is the coming down of the Spirit into man, you could say. And paper 194 is up with that and tells you about that. Now, I'm not using it like literally, but I'm actually looking at certain parts of it, and you'll see. It will be clear in a moment. But before we do that, we already dive a little bit into the infinite expression of spirit in a contemplation that we pre-made. Michelle is sharing it in French, and I do this in English. And we're going to become so quiet and so receptive and so open that really something can happen. Because this is where it all starts, like with quieting down the mind, relaxing into this moment is perfect, and allowing spirit to awaken in our consciousness. Really is like let it come fully in our consciousness to show us something that is completely new. So let's start with that. Spirit must always and ultimately become threefold in expression, and Trinity unified in final realization. Spirit originates from one source through a threefold expression, and in finality it must and does attain its full realization in that divine unification which is experienced in finding God, oneness with divinity, in eternity, and by means of the ministry of the cosmic mind, of the infinite expression of the eternal word of the Father's universal thought.
Il faut toujours qu'en fin de compte, l'esprit soit triple dans son expression et unifié trinitairement dans sa réalisation finale. L'esprit naît d'une source unique par une expression triple, et en finalité, il faut qu'il atteigne, et il atteint sa pleine réalisation dans l'unification divine que l'on expérimente en trouvant Dieu. L'unité avec la divinité dans l'éternité et au moyen du ministère du mental cosmique, de l'expression infinie de la parole éternelle, de la pensée universelle du Père.
All right. So I just played some Bach too, with flute, which is great. It's great. But it's mechanical, and I don't want to get you into any kind of trouble listening to music, but we will later on listen to the celestial artisans part about the celestial musicians, just to come into the idea of what actually then would be heavenly music. How would that even, how can you take a look at that? All right, so continuing with the Urantia, I want to give a short introduction to the book, because, since it's such an incredible work, you could say, and in fact it is, used by many. It is translated into 26 languages or something, so that's not with every book. And it was very popular in the years 60s. So all kinds of pop artists suddenly started using Jimi Hendrix and this one and that one. So that popularized it altogether. But so you can see, like, listening to it, even in the meditation, puts you into an active position. It's like you really have to pay attention to what is shared, and you cannot immediately grasp it, what it says. And here, this is the good part of it. So it's like whatever in your awakening you see, continuously you need to be shaken up. It's like, wait, hey, pay attention. Hello, pay attention. No, it's not what you think. Open up. You'll see. So this is coming back, and this is a continuous, in fact, invitation or shake up, however you want to call it, to not hang in your chair with the idea, okay, I'm awake, so I'm doing fine. Pass on the chocolate, something like this. It's like, no. Your mind has to be active, because the tendency of any part of your human mind to fall asleep is incredible. I see this too, like when you decide to have a moment in which you say are among humans, so to speak, before you know it, you start to think like a human, and that is very painful. If you got this far, you could say it's very painful to even think as a human being, or try to think, or finding yourself, say, being tempted to think like a human being. Not to make any differentiation, but it's more like, no, in the awakening process, you discover how painful it is to actually stretch things out in time, or say, be part of certain ceremonies where in fact there's an exchange of a bunch of lies that have nothing to do with reality, with what truly is there. And that comes to you in all kinds of ways, in order for you to recognize, oh my God, I can't believe it. I once totally believed in it, but now it's like, I really don't want to fall into that again. So here's the shake-up. So here's the activation of mind, you could say. Hello, pay attention. And okay, you don't understand it right away. Great. So now you can be open, you can keep your consciousness open to let this be revealed to you, because it wants to tell you something. And it is not about, is this true, is this that. It's like, no, something wants to reveal itself to you, and why not allow that? So with the Urantia book. So I'm sharing with you some Wikipedia page, tells us a lot. So I summarized it quite a bit. The Urantia, but I want to keep it systematic in a certain sense, so that we look at everything in every meeting, because then it's like, oh yeah, okay, this is part of it, and that's fun. The Urantia book, sometimes called the Urantia Papers or Fifth Epochal Revelation, is a spiritual, philosophical, and religious book that originated in Chicago, Illinois, sometime between 1924 and 1955. So the first pressure is like the first edition is 1955. When first published, it claimed to have been written by celestial beings. The actual authorship remains a matter of debate, though it has been noted that it appears to have plagiarized multiple sources without attribution. It received various degrees of interest, ranging from praise to criticism for its religious and science-related content, its unusual length, and the unusual names and origins of the authors named within the book. And that can be quite a discovery. The text introduces the word Urantia. So where is the word Urantia coming from? Actually as the name for planet Earth, and states that its intent is to present enlarged concepts and advanced truth. The book aims to unite religion, science and philosophy. Its large amount of content on topics of interest to science is unique among documents said to have been received from celestial beings. Among other topics, the book discusses the origin and meaning of life, mankind's place in the universe, the history of the planet and the relationship between God and people, and the life of Jesus. So in other words, the writer is anonymous. Like no idea where this comes from. Cosmology. So the Urantia has a lot of cosmology. It's like how the universe is organized, you could say. And see it as a possibility for mind expansion and not as a factual, like, okay, this is so and that should go like that and this is first and then that. Like, no. Look at it openly and see that it's in fact inviting you to expand your consciousness altogether. The book describes that at the center of the cosmos is the stationary Isle of Paradise, the dwelling place of God, with Paradise being surrounded by Havona, an eternal universe containing billion perfect worlds, around which 7 incomplete and evolutionary super-universes circle. The word universe in the book is used to denote a number of different scales of organization. A super-universe is roughly the size of a galaxy or a group of galaxies, and the 7 super-universes along with Paradise Havona are together designated as a grand universe. A local universe is a portion of a super universe, with 100,000 local universes being in each super universe. Yeah, you remember how it is set up? Beyond the 7 super universes, uninhabited outer space levels are described. The term master universe refers to what in modern usage would be called the total universe, all existing matter and space taken as a whole. Urantia is also to be located in a remote local universe named Nebadon, which itself is part of a superuniverse number 7, or Fonton. The physical size of a local universe is not directly stated, but each is said to have up to 10 million inhabited worlds. Just to give you an idea. So why am I saying this? Well, see, this is an essential part in the Urantia. Not that you have to know exactly how it works. No, this is just to give an idea about a universe. An infinite universe is infinite. It is not limited to anything. It's not limited to your ideas about how the universe looks. Now, the interesting part in that is that you have, when I say the word universe, you have an idea about what the universe is, right? And so that idea is going to be, expanded by these descriptions, like super universes, master universe, universes within universes with hundreds and thousands of inhabited worlds. See, that gives you a scope that is not regular in the human mind. Like, it's huge, it is all expansive, infinite, in all directions, and in no direction. So this is in fact the description of you in your experience of yourself as the Master Universe. Yeah, so that's interesting. It's interesting just because I remember reading it for the first time and feeling like, wow, I'm just already losing it. It's like, that's so incredible. Yeah, I know universe is big, but I didn't know it was that big. And still, I don't need to wrap my mind around it to see that it's infinite. Like, infinity cannot be wrapped around. And that's an amazing idea. That's an amazing idea. So there's no way of doing anything with that except recognizing that you are that, in fact. And even that is mind-blowing. Okay, so that sounds really spacey, doesn't it? So, Urantia, we're coming back then to, in fact, the life of Jesus. That is so amazing that it's in there, of course. And it gives you background information that you have heard about maybe, or that you start to recognize when you read it. So that's the amazing part for me, absolutely. It's like the amazing part is the recognition. And recognizing means knowing is like, yes, yeah, I know that I didn't know that I knew. Something like this. So it's another, just like we said before, it's like this is another invitation to develop your revelatory thinking, to not take facts for recognition, but to take frequencies and expansions for recognition. You're absolutely ready for that. I can tell you that. Because the factual and conceptual grasping, trying to put it into your concepts, has come to an end. Like, that will never function again. It is literally impossible. It's as if the glue doesn't work anymore between your concepts. It falls apart continuously. So the only thing that stays with you is the revelation readiness. The openness to let it be revealed to you is always with you, like you can't lose it. So there's no need any longer for a materialized thinking setup, or thinking scheme, in which you try to glue the concepts to one another in order to think that you comprehend something, that you understand something. Like, no, that's too limited and too slow. Like, the glue doesn't do its job, it falls apart all the time. Then you have to rearrange the blocks of your understanding into a different thing. You lose what you have, you can't remember parts of it. And it's like Gouda or Swiss whole cheese with holes in it. You know, it's like a Swiss cheese then. This is great. I love it. So the revelatory thinking needs activation of your mind. Like, it needs your mind to be active and open to receive that. Now, that's a nice challenge. That's a nice invitation. That's also how where you enter into, that you start to rely on more and more. That is the most interesting thing at this point. It's interesting to let things be revealed to you. The answer will come. You discovered that already. The answer will come. Now, what is it? I want to know. Show me. What is that? I don't know. I cannot grasp it, but I let it be revealed to me. I'm open to that. So, and this is the way that we step into the, say, the bestowal of the Spirit of Truth. And so this paper 194. Now you see I put the numbers here, especially for the ones that are reading in different languages. So you can look it up in your online Urantia book, which is, like I said, in 25 languages. So yours might be there. 19404 20594. That's because it's a gigantic book. So it's more than 2,000 pages. Okay, now we come back to language that is kind of familiar. And that is nice too. The gospel of the kingdom is the fact of the fatherhood of God, coupled with the resultant truth of the sonship brotherhood of man. Christianity, as it developed from that day, is the fact of God is the Father of the Lord Jesus Christ, in association with the experience of believer fellowship with the risen and glorified Christ. You get what this is saying. It's like, yeah. Christianity as it developed from that day is the fact of God as the Father of the Lord Jesus Christ, in association with the experience of believer fellowship with the risen Christ and glorified Christ. Yeah. The first mission of this Spirit is, of course, to foster and personalize truth, like to make it an individual experience. Personalized truth is, of course, not that suddenly you, in your definition of yourself, are true, but no, you're able to receive this as an individual experience. For it is the comprehension of truth that constitutes the highest form of human liberty. Well, that goes beyond human liberty, like it has nothing human anymore. If it is received as an individual experience, it is your freedom from the bondage of space and time. So it takes you out of your humanness. The comprehension is the revelation of truth that constitutes the freedom of humankind, of human being. So that's the first mission of the Spirit, recognizing the Spirit, letting it be revealed to you what it is, feeling it as an individual experience is what is given here. Next, it is the purpose of the Spirit to destroy the believer's feeling of orphanhood. And destroy is a word that is used at that time a lot. Mary Baker was talking about that a lot, like destroying evil, destroying believers' feeling of orphanhood. It is like, no, actually we're seeing it for what it is, and it disappears in that light of Christ vision. It disappears in the light of Christ vision. It doesn't need to be destroyed, it just doesn't have any truth to it. So it dissolves, literally. By looking at it for what it is, it dissolves. Jesus, having been among men, all believers would experience a sense of loneliness had not the Spirit of truth come to dwell in men's hearts. Jesus, having been among men, saying, if there wouldn't have come a comforter, there would have been a sense of loneliness, right? So that's, it was a promise too, that the comforter would come. Now this is interesting. That's why I love this paper, and that's why I use it today. It's like the whole idea of Spirit. You saw this in Mary Baker's, book too, like in Science and Health, and with Keys to the Scripture. You see that Spirit, Holy Spirit, is still looked at from a perspective of something else that is doing something for you, instead of recognizing that to be your experience. So this is huge. So and the same here, there's a possibility to say literally let the Spirit come to you, be touched by the Spirit, by your inspiration, you could say, that reveals the truth to you. You feel the stirring of Spirit in you because it is you. Now that is really important in, say, in your mindset, you could say, in opening your consciousness for that, because otherwise you think that Spirit is something else and that it doesn't have anything to do with you, that it's something that is helping you or giving messages to you. And yes, this is how it has been described. But when it becomes your own experience, you start to see that it directly tells you everything. It directly shows you what is occurring. It gives you the words to speak. It gives you the places to go. It gives you the people to meet. It tells you which words to speak. Like that is the Spirit. When is the Spirit presenting itself to you? In this present moment. It is literally the embodiment of the presence. Embodiment in frequency and not in space and time, but it comes into space and time only in this instant. Like only in the presence, it is right here. Now that's just amazing. Like that's literally something that is given to everyone. Literally, it is present in everyone. You carry it with you, whether you apply it or realize it or not, it is with you. Everyone receives inspiration. Everyone receives intuitions that are actually helping you, that are actually guiding you. And like that only needs to open a little bit further for you to realize that all the help is given in every moment and that you can completely rely on that. Literally, there's nothing else you can rely on. So the connection with your Christ mind, your spirit, and God, like I and my Father are one. Where's that happening? That's happening in me. So it's like this is the Trinity, say, unified in you, expressing itself. But that has nothing to do with your ideas about it. And this is the only thing that gets out of the way in our discoveries, in our revelations, then it becomes obvious that you have nothing to do with it. As you have seen yourself, or as you still describe yourself, or as you still hang on to yourself. It has nothing to do with that. Well, this is huge. So I love this chapter for that. Because like all the answers are in fact present in this moment. Everything you need to know is given you in this moment. I refer to that all the time because I rely on it. I've no other option. I totally have to trust that. And because it is where my joy is. So this is pretty amazing. So the idea of loneliness is gone if you realize that Spirit is with you and that is given to you as the comforter. And like as your comfort, you could say, it is really your comfort. It is that which takes all fear away, that literally it cannot live together with fear. So if you're fearful, you're still relying on something that isn't Spirit. And you can do that. You're free to do that. But you don't have to. You can also say, ask Spirit to reveal itself. Like, I command my spirit into your hands. I command all my thoughts to Spirit. it's like I give it all away in order to have an experience of the presence here and now, in which I actually come in touch with the perfection and with wholeness, oneness. How could I possibly feel lonely when I experience oneness? Okay, we continue with paper 194. Do not make the mistake of expecting to become strongly intellectually conscious of the outpoured spirit of truth. The spirit never creates a consciousness of himself. See? Only a consciousness of Michael the Son. From the beginning, Jesus taught that the spirit would not speak of himself. The proof, therefore, of your fellowship with the Spirit of Truth is not to be found in your consciousness of this Spirit, but rather in your experience of enhanced fellowship with Michael. And who is Michael in the story? So Michael is the Son of God, like the Urantia, the risen Christ. That's Michael. So it cannot be found in a relationship. You cannot find your spirit in a relationship with an earthly idea. So it's like the inspiration that comes is of a different frequency. It is literally taking you out of your setup, out of your descriptions, out of your patterns, out of your all of this. It's like literally that's where the miracle happens. It's like it's a different frequency of communication. And you cannot fool yourself. Like that literally takes over, you could say. That becomes everything. So it doesn't need a definition, an intellectual definition of what that is. No, it's like experiential, like I said. It gives you the opportunity for an individual, personalized or an individual experience, a subjective experience of reality. That's where the communication takes place. That's where you're one with Spirit, Christ, however you want to call it. But when you're in the experience, you don't need a definition. The last thing you look for will be a definition. It's like, no, it literally is itself. It doesn't need to be described. It is itself. When is it itself? Yeah, now. So this is really great. This is like, okay, can you get it? Now your mind will be activated by these ideas. Like, try to not to understand it. Try to open your mind as much as you can to listen with your whole being instead of your ears. And in order to grasp just a tiny little glimpse of this, it would already be totally amazing. But it asks of you to sit on the edge of your seat, to listen to it, to wanting to discover what this actually is. Continuing, the term baptism of the Spirit, which came into such general use about this time, merely signified the conscious reception of the gift of the Spirit of Truth and the personal acknowledgement of this new spiritual power as an augmentation of all spiritual influences previously experienced by God-knowing souls. Yeah, so what does it say here? The baptism of the Spirit. It came into general use about the time that this happened, like 33 or 36 AD or something. The gift of Spirit of Truth and the personal acknowledgement of the Spirit of Truth. So when is this happening for you? When you allow that to touch you, when you are open to receive the Spirit of Truth within yourself and recognize that by your personal acknowledgement. So it's not like, okay, that happened in 36 AD. No, there's nothing to do with that. This is about you right now. You have a possibility to receive this, the conscious reception of this gift. So the gift, the spirit of truth and the personal acknowledgement of this new spiritual power is an augmentation of all spiritual influences previously experienced by God-knowing souls. Like God-knowing souls are familiar with this experience because it is what the experience is. As man, oh yeah, so now we continue a little bit further. This is also interesting. As man progresses upwards in the scale of intelligence and spiritual perception, there eventually come to hover over him and dwell within him the 7 higher spirit influences. And these 7 spirits of the advancing worlds are. Now, before I get into that, because what is the necessity for us to actually listen to that? So why would you want to see the 7 differentiations of, say, the spirits to come, or the new frequencies of spirit to come to you? Like, why would you be concerned with that? So I'm not going to get into that now, because it's like, no, wait. First, you come to practice, you could say, to practice coming in touch with spirit, allowing yourself to experience that by doing your self-realization training or your workbook training of A Course in Miracles, for instance. It's like you'll have to come into a practice that becomes your say reception. That starts to happen. Your spiritual experiences in whatever path you follow, like the spiritual experiences that you come back to every day, to train yourself to open up more, to receive more, to activate your mind in listening and opening and receiving more than anything else, not comprehending, not trying to understand, like I said, with the blocks, the building blocks of your intellect. The glue doesn't work any longer. It's falling apart. As soon as you build it up, it already falls apart again. You have to rearrange the blocks all the time in order to come to some sort of satisfaction in intellect. And still it is nothing. So that whole part can go. So the revelatory thinking and the opening up your consciousness for spirit communication is what needs to occur before anything else. Now this is great. So continuing now with listening, just as a side note, I would say, it's like listening to the celestial artisans. And the celestial artisans, there's also a description of 7 or 8 different artisans, like different ways of being an artisan in heaven, you could say. Now, why do I pick the first one? Because I shared with you this was related to the idea of music, and I use it as an example so that you understand what I mean with the idea of the mechanical world, the mechanical music, and there's a whole different quality available that you will recognize as being there, that you might hear in some incredibly beautiful music. You know that the frequency is actually taking you out of this, say, bondage of space and time, as I call it. It's like you are being lifted out of that. Now, there are some qualities of the, say, human music that come very close to that. And we hear this, we're like beautiful singing or beautiful violin music. But still there's a whole new quality available, and you're not able to hear it with your ears, But you can learn to listen with your mind to all of this, like open up your consciousness for these sounds. And that's why I use this. So I'm going to the Urantia Book, paper 44, The Celestial Artisans. Among the courtesy colonies of the various divisional and universe headquarters worlds may be found the unique order of composite personalities dominated the celestial artisans. These beings are the master artists and artisans of the Urantia and lower spirit realms. They are the spirits and semi-spirits who are engaged in Urantia embellishment and in spiritual beautification. Such artisans are distributed throughout the grand universe on the headquarters worlds of the super-universes, the local universes, the constellations and systems, as well as on all spheres settled in light and life. But their chief realm of activity is in the constellations and especially on the 770 worlds surrounding each headquarters sphere. Though their work may be almost incomprehensible to the material mind, it should be understood that the Urantia and spirit worlds are not without their high arts and supernal cultures. The celestial artisans are not created as such. They are a selected and recruited corps of beings composed of certain teacher personalities native to the central universe and their volunteer pupils drawn from the ascending mortals and numerous other celestial groups. The original teaching corps of these artisans was sometime assigned by the Infinite Spirit in collaboration with the 7 Master Spirits and consisted of 7,000 Havona instructors, 1,000 to each of the 7 divisions of artisans. With such a nucleus to start with, there was developed through the ages this brilliant body of skilled workers in spirit and Urantia affairs. Any Urantia personality or spirit entity is eligible for admission to the corps of celestial artisans. That is, any being below the rank of inherent divine sonship, ascending sons of God from the evolutionary spheres may, after their arrival on the Urantia worlds, apply for admission to the artisan corps, and, if sufficiently gifted, may choose such a career for a longer or shorter period. But no one may enlist with the celestial artisans for less than 1 millennium, 1,000 years of super-universe time. All celestial artisans are registered on the super-universe headquarters, but are directed by Urantia supervisors on the local universe capitals. They are commissioned in the following 7 major divisions of activity by the Central Corps of Urantia supervisors functioning on the headquarters world of each local universe. 1. Celestial musicians. 2. Heavenly producers. 3. Divine builders. 4. Thoughts recorders. 5. Energy manipulators. 6. Designers and embellishers. 7. Harmony workers. The original teachers of these 7 groups all hailed from the perfect worlds of Havona, and Havona contains the patent studies for all phases and forms of spirit artistry. While it is a gigantic task to undertake to transfer these arts of Havona to the worlds of space, the celestial artisans have improved in technique and execution from age to age. As in all other phases of the ascending career, those who are most advanced in any line of endeavor are required constantly to impart their superior knowledge and skill to their less favored fellows. You will first begin to glimpse these transplanted arts of Havona on the mansion worlds, and their beauty and your appreciation of their beauty will heighten and brighten until you stand in the spirit halls of Selvington and behold the inspiring masterpieces of supernal artists of the spirit realms. All these activities of the Urantia and spirit worlds are real. To spirit beings, the spirit world is a reality. To us, the material world is the more unreal. The higher forms of spirits freely pass through ordinary matter. High spirits are reactive to nothing material except certain of the basic energies. To material beings, the spirit world is more or less unreal. To spirit beings, the material world is almost entirely unreal, being merely a shadow of the substance of spirit realities. I cannot, with exclusive spirit vision, perceive the building in which this narrative is being translated and recorded. A divine counselor from Uversa, who chances to stand by my side, perceives still less of these purely material creations. We discern how these material structures appear to you by viewing a spirit counterpart presented to our minds by one of our attending energy transformers. This material building is not exactly real to me, a spirit being, but it is, of course, very real and very serviceable to material mortals. There are certain types of beings who are capable of discerning the reality of the creatures of both the spirits and the material worlds. Belonging to this class are the so-called fourth creatures of the Havona Surfetals and the fourth creatures of the Conciliators. The angels of time and space are endowed with the ability to discern both spirit and material beings, as also are the ascending mortals subsequent to deliverance from the life in the flesh. After attainment of the higher spirit levels, the ascenders are able to recognize material, Urantia and spirit realities. There's also here with me a mighty messenger from Uversa, ascendant adjuster fused, one-time mortal being, and he perceives you as you are, and at the same time he visualizes the solitary messenger, the super nymph, and other celestial beings present. Never in your long ascendancy will you lose the power to recognize your associates of former existences. Always, as you ascend inward in the scale of life, you will retain the ability to recognize and fraternize with the fellow beings of your previous and lower level of experience. Each new translation or resurrection will add one more group of spirit beings to your vision range, without in the least depriving you of the ability to recognize your friends and fellows of former states. All this is made possible in the experience of ascending mortals by the action of the indwelling thought adjusters. Through their retention of the duplicates of your entire life's experiences, you are assured of never losing any true attribute you once had. And these adjusters are going through with you as a part of you, in reality as you. But I almost despair of being able to convey to the material mind the nature of the work of the celestial artisans. I'm under the necessity of constantly perverting thought and distorting language in an effort to unfold to the mortal mind the reality of these Urantia transactions and near-spirit phenomena. Your comprehension is incapable of grasping, and your language is inadequate for conveying the meaning, value, and relationship of these semi-spirit activities. And I proceed with this effort to enlighten the human mind concerning these realities with the full understanding of the utter impossibility of my being very successful in such an undertaking. I can do no more than attempt to sketch a crude parallelism between mortal material activities and the manifold functions of the celestial artisans. If the Urantia races were more advanced in art and other cultural accomplishments, then I could go that much further in an effort to project the human mind from the things of matter to those of Urantia. About all I can hope to accomplish is to make empathic the fact of the reality of these transactions of the Urantia and the spirit worlds. 1. celestial musicians. With the limited range of mortal hearing, you can hardly conceive of Urantia melodies. There is even a material range of beautiful sound unrecognized by the human sense of hearing, not to mention the inconceivable scope of Urantia and spirit harmony. Spirit harmonies are not material sound waves, but spirit pulsations received by the spirits of celestial personalities. There is a vastness of range and a soul of expression, as well as a grandeur of execution, associated with the melody of the spheres that are wholly beyond human comprehension. I have seen millions of enraptured beings held in sublime ecstasy, while the melody of the realm rolled in upon the spirit energy of the celestial circuits. These marvelous melodies can be broadcast to the uttermost part of the universe. The celestial musicians are occupied with the production of celestial harmony by the manipulation of the following spirit forces. 1. Spirit sound, spirit current interruptions. 2. Spirit light, the control and intensification of the light of the Urantia spiritual realms. 3. Energy impingements, melody produced by the skillful management of the Urantia spirit energies. 4. Color symphonies, melody of Urantia color tones. This ranks among the highest accomplishments of celestial musicians. 5. Harmony of associated spirits. The very arrangement and association of different orders of Urantia and spirit beings produce majestic melodies. 6. Melody of thought. The thinking of spiritual thoughts can be so perfected as to burst forth in the melodies of Havona. 7. The music of space. By proper attunement, the melodies of other spheres can be picked up on the universe broadcast circuits. There are over 100,000 different modes of sound, color and energy manipulation techniques analogues to the human employment of musical instruments. Your ensembles of dancing undoubtedly present a crude and grotesque attempt of material creatures to approach the celestial harmony of being, placement, and personality arrangement. The other 5 forms of Urantia melodies are unrecognized by the sensory mechanisms of material bodies. Harmony, the music of the 7 levels of melodious association, is the one universal code of spirit communication. Music, such as Urantia mortals understand, attains its highest expression in the schools of Jerusalem, the system headquarters where semi-material beings are taught the harmonies of sound. Mortals do not react to the other forms of Urantia melodies and celestial harmonies. Appreciation of music on Urantia is both physical and spiritual, and your human musicians have done much to elevate musical taste from the barbarous monotony of your early ancestors to the higher levels of sound appreciation. The majority of Urantia mortals react to music so largely with material muscles and so slightly with the mind and spirit. But there has been a steady improvement in the musical appreciation for more than 35,000 years. Tuneful syncopation represents a transition from the musical monotony of primitive man to the expressionful harmony and meaningful melodies of the later-day musicians. These earlier types of rhythm stimulate the reaction of the music-loving sense without entailing the exertion of a higher intellectual powers of harmony appreciation, and thus more generally appeal to immature or spiritually indolent individuals. The best music of Urantia is just a fleeting echo of the magnificent strains heard by the celestial associates of your musicians, who left but snatches of these harmonies of Urantia forces on record as the musical melodies of sound harmonics. Spirit Urantia music is not infrequently employs all 7 modes of expression and reproduction, so that the human mind is tremendously handicapped in any attempt to reduce these melodies of the higher spheres to mere notes of musical sound. Such an effort would be something like endeavoring to reproduce the strains of a great orchestra by the means of a single musical instrument. While you have assembled some beautiful melodies on Urantia, you have not processed musically nearly so far as many of our neighboring planets in Satania. If Adam and Eve had only survived, then would you have had music in reality. But the gift of harmony, so large in their natures, has been so diluted by strains of unmusical tendencies that only once in 1,000 mortal lives is there any great appreciation of harmonics. But be not discouraged. Some day a real musician may appear on Urantia, and whole peoples will be enthralled by the magnificent strains of these melodies. One such human being could forever change the course of a whole nation, even the entire civilized world. It is literally true, melody has power a whole world to transform. Forever, music will remain the universal language of men, angels and spirits. Harmony is the speech of Havona. So, absolutely mind-blowing. Yeah, so can you imagine not having listened to music for 2 years after hearing this? Like, I was ashamed for the way that we make music. I'm like, oh God, help me. So that's so great. Yeah, so this was one part. Now this inspired me to so I'm going to head over to the poem that I made with some music, and it's not mechanical. Nope. So it is a frequency, a shifting frequency, and the poem I will listen to the music with you. You can read the poem, and afterwards I do it one more time and actually read the poem. So let's get started with that. Bestowal. Spirit of truth, received by you, despite location, despite ceremonies. No necessity to use physical force, but forgive unfailing, love abounds. It happens to you, it happens to me. It is given freely to all. No conditions, no special environment, no special training, no special anything, just you. No distinction of race or religion, of caste or sex prejudice. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. The power to forgive, the vision to see, unmoved by danger, touched by spirit. Tears of recognition, heart overflowing, love embracing, brotherhood of man. Secret of heaven on earth is mutual trust, unified purpose. One heart, one soul, unifying influence, purifying human heart. prayer increases receptivity for divine flow. Remember now. Spirit dwells within you and everyone, now and forever. Amen. All right. Thank you so much for joining today. Thank you so much. We could just do it in 1.5 hours. It's like, that's nice, compact. I love it. So thank you for your tolerance for this. Thank you for your receptivity, for going on this adventure with me. That's so cool. And I'm really happy with your presence here. That's completely amazing to me. So thank you for that. And if you have any ideas which heavenly musicians actually became celestial artisans, maybe Jimi Hendrix, maybe someone else, just let me know. You might write it in the comments. Like, no, well, probably this one has gone there too. I always thought he would end up there. Well, just let me know. Anyway, so thank you so much for everything, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you so much. Bye.